villain is defeated.
Hello Avengers and welcome to another battery guide video. Today we'll be doing Hulk. I will show you how to make battery with Hulk using his heavy power attacks, his heroics, and his range. As always, before we begin, the battery effect is a combination of a positive status with a negative status. Positive status are vibranium, PIM, plasma, cosmic. Negative is shock, cryo, gamma, and sonic. Now I'll show you the build I used for the opening of this video. For my melee, I use this piece, the heavyweight buff nanites, where I get a heavyweight buff. If I'm using heavy combo finishers, I can trigger a damage buff. It will be very handy on the second video that I will show you later. But the important part of this piece is that it will produce PIM status positive when I use his heavy power attacks, where he's using this ground pound ability, smashing the floor and triggering the damage onto enemies. It will continue to apply that status every time it's smashing on the floor and enemies are nearby. And of course we're going for a melee build, so we're focusing on might here. Next you have the targeted buff enhancer. This was a crucial piece for this build because it triggered the target buff. I started throwing rocks at the enemy to trigger the target buff. As soon as I triggered that, I made sure to do all my status combinations with my heroics, trigger my damage booster and all that. Now you're wondering, but why am I using this status effect of plasma? I am not using this piece for status, instead I'm only using it as a damage buff. So essentially this build is using my melee produce status in combination with the heroics that produce gamma. So my heroics that produce gamma is the assault heroic, where you must specify this specific skill, and when you smash it, it will produce gamma all around and will continue to apply that gamma on the enemy. And secondly, you can use your ultimate ability as well, that as soon as it's done, it will leave a gamma air dust around, similar to the assault heroic. So with those two heroics doing that, you're constantly applying gamma all the time, so the boss or any enemy will be fully applied as gamma, and then you can smash them with your heavy power attacks, or if you build them with precision range, then you can smash it with your rocks. For my chest piece, I have an exotic, which mainly the thing is that I have might stats for it, and it improves my valor intensity. It's overall pretty good stats to improve my build. Don't really care for the perks here, I'm just using it for stats. And then my other piece is the Wall Breaker's Neuronics, which is not really great for might stats, but it's overall really good for my overall stats. Improves my heroics, which I'll be using to apply that gamma. It's a nice little boost for that, and it's a nice little boost for my defense as well. The resolve is really high stats, so it's a really handy just for that. Now ideally you want to try to get potentiators for these pieces, for example a gamma potentiator so you can boost your heroics of the gamma application, or a potentiator for the status that you chose for your heavy power attacks. Or if you're going for range, do it on the range piece status effect. But ideally what you want to do with this build is that if you're going for a range build, you want to do a positive status to go against the heroics, or like in the case here, a positive status for melee to go against the gamma. Is the easiest way to produce battery. If you go for melee and range at the same time, it won't be as effective because you won't have the other status effect constantly applying and doing damage like it does with the heroics. As for my minor artifacts, they're just there to increase my overall might stats. So they're both red ISOs. Nothing really special to them. The second one has critical hit chance for heavy combo finisher, which can be handy for the finisher of the heavy power attack, but it's not an essential thing to have. But if you find this specific red ISO, then it doesn't hurt to have it. So other things to take into consideration is the specific skill called Excavator. So it increases the speed that you throw your rocks and pick them up, so you can trigger that damage buff. Another great skill to have is increased damage while your rage is active, because when you activate all your heroics, you can do full-on rage, and while you're doing that heavy power attack, you can activate that rage and do more damage. And this one is also great, the status boost, because we're doing a battery build And since again we activate all heroics, you will be overcharged and you'll get this increase of status damage of 30%. Now I didn't make any other change except one piece here. What I did here is that I went for a might piece so I could get more might stats. Now I'm 2,900. With the other build I was 2,400. The other difference is that I went for the damage buff to trigger with my might piece, where it triggers for a heavy combo finisher. Once I got that active, I went all crazy on Maestro with all my heroics. So that's essentially my best recommendation on building Hulk with battery in mind. And you can always explore different ways, but combining all these things that produce status effect. Now there's a few other things you could do with Hulk to apply status that I didn't mention before, where if you grab the enemy you can smash them to the floor and produce status as well. The only problem with that kind of build is it's not going to be handy for you with a boss fight per se, especially for something against Super Adaptoid. And don't forget that there's a quadruple XP weekend going on right now. So if you're looking to boost your champion points, I recommend you go for the tactical boost table, because it increases your overall critical damage and critical chance and your status damage as well. Now if your build is lacking on defense stats that's lower than 1000 perhaps on your defense, then maybe you should go for a little bit on your defense as well. But that's it with Hulk. I hope this guy becomes very helpful for you and you're able to make some incredible Hulk builds. I will have a Miss Marvel coming soon to wrap up this battery guide series. See you next time, Avengers.